So we just announced Curiosity 2, and now we're on the hunt for Minion 2. And our next home is gonna be all about self-reliance with its renewable energy and its electric propulsion. And we want our tender to be, well, more of the same. And HH is outfitted the 44 with carbon fiber davits that can carry an 11-foot tender that weighs up to 440 pounds. And the payload is like more than 10,000 pounds, meaning we can put a crap load of toys on her. But it is a balance. We want to keep her light and nimble. So we really are considering all the options when it comes to our next tender. And fortunately, here in New Zealand, we've been able to get our hands on some very unique ones.
This is the future, people! Quiet, chill, cruise control.
Where's my beer?
I know, right?
Have we said how small, lightweight, compact, and practical this thing is?
The world's lightest electric jet tender. Man, that's awesome.
So we have done a lot of testing in our quest for the perfect dinghy setup, and we've decided to break this up into two parts. So the first one, we're going to go over just the platform itself, so the rigid versus inflatable.
And then for the second part, we're going to go over the electric engines and the batteries. So let's just dive straight into inflatables. Look, there's lots of options for inflatables. You got your soft bottoms, you got your fiberglass bottoms, and you got your aluminum bottoms. And trust me, when you're thinking about your dinghy, you definitely want to consider your bottom. Of course, there's the center console, which is great. It's kind of a dream to drive, but it takes up a lot of internal space and it weighs a lot. There's also tenders that are made with an open transom specifically for water sports.
And when it comes to hard dinghies, the options are equally as exhaustive. But here are some of the standards that we've seen. We've got the unsinkable pudgy, the classic woody, the rigid plastic, the trusty tinny, and the flash all carbon fiber.
Again, there's loads of options and brands out there, but for our cruising style, we've really loved our rigid inflatable boat with the aluminum bottom. It's kind of like the sweet spot. It keeps us dry, the bottom's hard enough to handle a beating from, say, a rocky beach, and light enough to lift up with our davit system. And as far as a rigid boat goes, we would have never considered one in the past because they're just way too freaking heavy. But OC has completely changed the game on that one. They're building them lightweight and making them out of fiberglass and carbon fiber.
Yep. And keep in mind that with each of those brands, there are loads of different options and sizes. And for us, when we purchase, we'll be looking for something right around that 11-foot range because that's what fits on the boat. But for testing purposes, we were a little more limited with what we could get our hands on. And for side-by-side testing, we wanted to keep them around the same length, which is how we've ended up with a Highfield CL 290 and an OC 300.
We've had our Highfield for 6 long years, and it's built solid and it's comfortable. With a dual floor, it stays incredibly dry. The foam is grippy, but it's soft on the feet. This Highfield is optioned with the PVC, and the fit, finish, and fabric quality don't seem to be as durable as the Hypalon fabric that we have. I'd say it's worth the upgrade if you want your dinghy to last longer.
Ooh, that's what she said.
The forward bow locker has lots of room, although I prefer the separate anchor locker like we have on Minion. For some reason, they got rid of it. And this is my official request. Highfield, bring it back. It is so freaking practical. The locker can be locked, which helps prevent the theft of fuel, anchors, lines, and so on. I've been very happy with it, and that's why it's still our top choice for the inflatable category.
The OC is beautiful and the attention to detail is unmatched. From the Dyneema lifting points to the integrated fishing rod holders, cleverly designed handles, and integrated storage pouches. The non-slip is grippy, but it isn't as plush as the Highfield, and it doesn't have a double floor, which means camera bags and grocery bags could end up with soggy bottoms. The bow pouch is nice and convenient for anchoring, but I'd personally prefer a locking cover. And overall, because there are no tubes, the internal volume is just way bigger than any other rib of a similar size.
Slapping of everything, you can tell it's a little bit breezy today. and we're gonna do a paddle test on both the Highfield and the OC. I've got a little course where I have to make a U shape. That way I have to turn, see how they handle. I'm also gonna time myself for fun, but I don't know that that's relevant.
Maybe, we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one thing interesting to note on this particular tender, the paddle can be stored down here like most of the Highfields. However, you have to disconnect the actual paddle part in order to get it to fit in here because it's too long. You can also store it up here, like this one's done. This system works pretty well. It's basically the same thing we have on our Highfield. So you can also stow it like that, but I think it gets in the way when you jump up and down off the dinghy when you're snorkeling. So I like to stow it away underneath. Start. And here we go. On these inflatables, it's a better paddling experience if you have the inflatable part really full.
Aired up.
Yeah, super aired up. Otherwise, the paddles all bend and flex and the little connector points just bend in with the fabric. Hey, I feel like I'm doing pretty good here. Pretty easy to control. Here comes turn number 2. This is where legends are made on the second turn. Whoa! Jeff Gordon and the Rainbow Warriors for the win!
What's that reference?
That's a NASCAR reference.
And you've watched NASCAR how many times in your life?
When I was younger. My younger days, my youths. Okay, and let's see if I can dock here. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I should have had an action cam for this.
2 minutes, 15 seconds.
Ooh, what was their distance?
97 beats per minute. 0.05 nautical miles. That's 0.05 nautical miles. It took me 2 minutes, 15 seconds, and 88 hundredths of a second. Anyway, 1.4 knots speed, average. I think the overall experience is pretty good. It's a new dinghy. They're super inflated, and yeah,
That's all you got to say about that?
Can't really complain. We'll see what the next one's like. Definitely easier without you.
I say that all the time.
A little bit squirrelier.
As we are getting closer to handing over Curiosity to our new owners, we are also booking our travels to the USA. And granted, we have not booked anything in like over 2.5 years. Thank you, pandemic. So we are a little bit rusty on how to get the best deals. But one thing that has not changed is the fact that the more I search, the more the price increases. And that is because of a thing called dynamic pricing, which really just means that these websites are using our IP address, our location and browsing history and so on to create specialized pricing, which really is so incredibly annoying. But thanks to our trusty sponsor, Surfshark, we can get around all of that because Surfshark is an app and browser extension that lets us change our IP address to virtually place ourselves anywhere in the world to unblock websites and content that we couldn't access otherwise. Now, you've heard us talk about how we use Surfshark to get around geo restrictions on sites like Amazon, but here's how we get cheaper flights and rental cars. Okay, so I'm gonna open up Surfshark and select a server. We'll start with New Zealand because that's where we are. Search for our flight and make note of the price. Now I'm gonna clear the cookies and the browsing history, and I'm gonna select a different server. I'll go for Vietnam. I try to stay away from any big cities because they usually have big prices. I'll keep the currency the same so that I can compare and check that out. That is a $50 savings on just my first try. And I'll repeat that process a couple of different times just to see if I can get something better. And then I'll do the same exact thing for our car rental too. So you can see why Surfshark is our favorite app. And right now, if you use our discount code WYNNS, you can get 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. Now, if you're concerned at all that it's not going to be a good app for you, no worries. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk to try it out. I will put a link down in the description, or you can just click or scan the QR code on your screen.
Hey, this is the paddle test of the OC300. I really like where the paddles are stowed because they are tucked way up under here. And these are some paddles, man.
Those are real paddles.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
First time.
Yeah.
I gotta hit the beat.
Wow.
Gotta hit the beat. I gotta hit the beat.
Instead of having a built-in bench, they have these foam floats that I've seen people use as a picnic table, and it's also to be used as a chair or a seat while you paddle.
Device.
Or a flotation device, yeah. Okay, we'll see. Starting. Here we go. Okay, should I pretend like I haven't done it yet?
Nah, let's own up to the
okay.
mistake. Yeah.
The reality.
Yeah.
First time.
We look, you are slightly turned on this one as to where that one was
Yeah,
square on. You want to do the whole thing over again?
I have to. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Got GPS. Go. Okay. The longer paddles are also challenging to maneuver around the boat. Okay, let's go that way. Go that way. Here we go. Yeah.
All I can think about is row.
Get all the crew experts going. You did this wrong. That's not how you paddle. Whoops. Feels like a nice rowing workout for sure. Nice and smooth. So I'm gonna turn too early. And put the paddles away. Grab the dock. Stop. 210. Yep, heart rate's at 101 beats per minute this time. 2 knots average speed. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, 0.07 nautical miles, so I took a longer route. There's 2 positions for the paddles. I'm gonna try moving up to the forward position. We have noticed that weight balance is kind of important on this boat for maximum performance, so this could change it. And I think in the end of the day, you're only as skilled as your paddler. Definitely get used to this.
Okay, so how did you feel about the change up of the paddle position?
It's probably better as far as the balance goes.
Did it feel any easier or better?
Maybe a little easier. It's just gonna take some time to get used to paddling. If you're actually gonna push yourself to do it right, which I would like to do. Learn how to be a better paddler.
With the Highfields, would you paddle more or less in one or the other?
I paddled a lot in the Highfield in the beginning when we had it, when it was new, and as it got older, those plastic pieces started to fatigue, and the paddling experience wasn't very enjoyable. So I have a feeling.
So now it's out of necessity.
Yeah. So it's not out of just enjoyment. I just paddle out of necessity, or because I want to get a little bit of extra size. One other thing about these paddles is they are big, and they're a little more cumbersome to deal with around, at least from initial experience here, first timer, long time listener, first time caller, around the boat and around the dock, it is a little bit, cumbersome. And like right now, I'm worried about it falling over and hitting the boat.
Yeah.
So it's not something I really have to worry about on the Highfield.
Because they're small and they're just like plastic and lightweight. And these are actually like legit paddles.
I can definitely feel we're getting blown around a little bit more on the OC, but that's just the way that it's designed to sit on top of the water and not really sit deep in the water.
Because it glides around like a sail.
As part of our stability test, we are going to see how easy it is. Well, I'm going to see how easy or not easy it is to go from the water to the dinghy, because that is something we do a lot. So it is important, and I have heard from some people that they don't think the OC looks like it would be very easy to get back into. Now they do have a ladder. We don't have that ladder, but we never use a ladder with our Highfield right now. I'm gonna give it a go. Only one way to find out, right?
How excited are you about getting in that water?
Not. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is a solid negative. 0.5. Okay. Slip it off. Nice and easy. Ooh, nice and chilly. Usually hold on to these two. Ta-da! Easy as. Didn't even get my upper half wet. Very stable, very easy to get off, easy to get on. So now for the OC. There we go. Easy in. Oh, super easy actually.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a little bit
Yeah,
more sensitive.
I was too. The little bit that it leans is helpful.
Yeah.
It kind of eases you off into the water, and then same thing for getting back in. So it probably looks a little wonky,
Yeah.
but it actually feels good because it just puts you closer to the water.
Can you bounce up and down? No, not really.
I think that's just the edge of its buoyancy. Like it just doesn't
That's great.
go any further. You can definitely tell that it's, as you move,
Yeah.
the boat moves with you.
Yeah, but you're leaning full on. Cool. Trying to flip it. Oh.
It'll just be trying to put some pressure on it. It just pops back. Test my far back corner. Be fishing. Side. All the grip along the sides, and then the fact that it is flat makes it very easy and comfortable to stand on and to sit on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of feel like you can get a grip, you're not gonna like slide off. Front's maybe a little harder.
Yeah. Try the side?
Yeah. Side's way easier.
Yeah, it moves a lot more than the Highfield, but not in a scary way. And I think knowing that it's not gonna flip, I think you get more confidence as you use it more often. So maybe like the first time you step on it, it might feel a little squirrely, but
it's not.
yeah, I've been jumping around, moving engines back and forth, moving batteries, and I haven't felt like I was gonna fall in. Normally you wanna get on the dock or a boat with one hand on each, but even if I didn't, like, I'm really trying to put all my weight.
Front jump.
Parkour. Go forward or sideways, it doesn't.
Doesn't really matter. This is pretty easy. 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 This big ol' inner tubes, like you don't go anywhere with these puppies. You're not gonna stand on the tubes and walk around. I mean, I could, but I'm probably gonna fall in.
But you can't stand on the locker. That's
Yes,
super
yeah.
stable.
I mean, obviously, this is a great platform. You definitely feel slightly more movement in the OC than you do with the Highfield, but it kind of gets made up for because of that flat grippy platform versus the tube? I don't know. It's not like it's not a clear, it's just different. Not better, not worse, just different.
So we had these tenders for multiple days and we got to experience a variety of sea conditions. And this is where we thought there would be like a clear winner. You know, from our 6 years experience on our Highfield, we thought there's no way the OC is going to be able to keep us as dry or be as comfortable out there in the chop.
But surprisingly, it did really well. Like, not better, not worse, just different.
If we were in an inflatable right now, I can't say we would go any faster.
Yeah.
We'd probably be about this speed.
Yeah.
But we weren't any more comfortable on one or the other, and we stayed about the same amount of dryness on both. And the big takeaway was pretty much when you hit a wave,
You're gonna get the little bit of jarring.
yeah, you're gonna feel it. And no matter what, if it's just a really choppy, windy day out there, it doesn't matter which small boat you're in, it's just not that great.
Is there a clear winner? I would say from everything we've gone over throughout this video, I would say no. There's no clear winner at this point. But sure, you could say the OC weighs less and the OC has more internal volume,
But if you completely outfit the Highfield, you could have that center console with the seats and everything else. You can definitely get more creature comfort. So it starts to bounce back and forth and become difficult to make a decision because it's really about personal preference.
until we get to our last 3 points.
Maintenance, end of life, and value.
That's what I was gonna say. So I'll start with maintenance. Let's just assume we get a hole in the boat. With a inflatable boat, you have a patch and a patch kit. And if you've ever looked online how to repair a hole in a dinghy,
It'll say don't.
yeah, it'll say take it to a professional. You're gonna mess it up unless you know what you're doing. So patches are not that reliable.
Bit of a point of contention with most inflatable owners, unless you're somewhere where somebody is a professional, and then it's not so bad. And then as far as the OC goes, it's a little less complicated because if you've got a tube of epoxy, then you can always fill anything in temporarily, and then you're just looking at your typical fiberglass or carbon fiber repair. Same thing we do on our big boats. We're all generally versed in those.
Yeah. And then that leads us into end of life. Now, from the day you expose your Hypalon fabric to the sun, you are slowly reducing its lifespan. And I've heard people say that they'll get about 10 years out of a Highfield. I've even read that you can get up to 20 if it's stored in perfect conditions, but I don't think we've ever seen a cruiser with a 20-year-old tender before.
No, because what happens is your fabric is going to age out or it will delaminate from the bottom. That's one of two problems that's going to happen within that time frame. And our dinghy right now is 6 years old, and she still looks, her fabric does not look so hot. She's a little dirty in that aspect, but generally she's holding up great. She's still got plenty of years of use, but it will come to an end as to where the OC
could be a forever pairing. This could be the very last dinghy you ever purchase.
Yep, because it's made out of the same materials that the big boat's made out of, which means it should have the same lifespan.
It's gonna outlast us.
Easily. And even if we did decide to sell it, it still has a lot of years ahead of it. So technically your value should hold really well. So that really starts to create a wider gap in those last few things. So clearly we are slightly leaning towards the OC.
But we're not 100% yet. We still have to test the engines and the batteries.
Yes, and that's a big one. So make sure and stay tuned for part 2. Hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss that.
Or sign up for our newsletter because we send those out only once a week and we don't spam you.
No.
And that way you're guaranteed to know when another video drops.
That's right. So we'll see you then.
Yeah.